We have gone through 3 different parts of using and leveraging private audio feeds when it comes to your podcast growth and your business growth. We've talked about how it impacts you and your community, and also how it adds a completely different layer to everything that you're creating right now. In this episode, we are actually going to wrap it all up with a beautiful bow, and we're going to talk about how to create a private podcast strategy with Kim. Are you tired of consistently and constantly creating content for your business, only to feel overwhelmed and stressed out in the process and after it all goes live? What if we told you today that there was a way to simplify the process while still reaching your target audience? In this episode, we're going to explore the key benefits of using private audio feeds in your business and how they can take the stress out of content creation. In the first segment of this episode, we're talking about the advantages of utilizing private audio feeds for your business. From fostering and creating a sense of exclusivity to offering personalized content, private feeds can give your business a really significant competitive edge. Next, we're diving into the 3 main sections of creating a private feed. And then we're talking about how to use your private audio feed in conjunction with your public audio. And we're going to explore the different benefits of offering exclusive content to your loyal listeners while still reaching new audiences with your public podcast. We're also going to talk about the very important aspect of creating accessible content with private feeds. From having transcriptions to closed captioning, we're offering you tips and tricks to make your private audio feed available to all of your customers. Kim's business journey started as a call for something more. Her career in population health allowed her to look at things with a holistic lens, identifying big picture initiatives and creating messaging for target populations from concept to implementation. She realized there was only so much change that she can make from her cubicle. May and James Co. began with the intention of sharing the creativity of audio marketing with others, and she believes that the power of collaborating and networking through storytelling is key to success. Your clients are busy. They want to learn from you, and this is why they're in your world. But they also have families. They also have businesses. They also have personal lives and households to run. So let's learn how to meet your people where you're at using private audio feeds. Before we dive into the conversation, please leave me a rating and review of this episode and of this podcast if you're enjoying it. It really goes a long way in telling me what you like and also sharing with all of the other creators that are out there that they should be listening to this show too. I put so much love and so much time and so much dedication into each episode and making sure that the content is super beneficial for you. And you leaving me a rating or review is genuinely so incredible, and it means so much to me. So thank you for taking the time to be here with me today and to be here with Kim today. I'm excited for part 4 of our series. I'm excited to close it out with this really strong note. And if you have any questions, connect with us. But other than that, let's get into this conversation. Kim, welcome back to As It Relates to Podcasting for our very final episode on this 4-part series. This has been incredible. I'm so grateful for you.
Oh, I'm so happy that you're getting some knowledge and value out of this, and I hope your listeners do too.
I know that they are, and I am, just absolutely loving all of this. It has caused me to think about podcasting in a different way, audio in a different way, and what we can create in our businesses in a completely new way, which I'm like really, really, really excited about. So we're going to talk in this episode about using private audio feeds inside your business and how to sort of build a framework to get started on that journey. And I know you have some resources for us as well, which I would love for you to share throughout. So let's talk a little bit about how we can take these audio feeds and how we can create better processes, better framework, and overall. Take it away.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, I'm going to kind of give 2 more examples of how you can use private feeds internally in your business. And I think they're pretty cool. And it doesn't matter the size of your business. Like if you think about teams and operations through audio, how you can use a private feeds. So you can use it through creating client onboarding processes. So how cool would it be to send not just an email, but a little link that talked about, greeting your new client, onboarding them in a unique way. So that's a really cool way that you can add audio or private feeds, updates and announcements in your business. You could send out a private link to your employees and just be like, hey, just a heads up, we're going to do like a 10-minute chat at the end of each week or at the beginning of each week as a motivator to get people excited, right? Because most of us are working remotely in businesses and companies online. So what a great way to just touch base with them without having to set up another meeting. You know, you can create a 10-minute at the beginning of the week, a 10-minute capture at the end of the week. You can tie in voice notes into your world. So there's just so many different ways you can add audio assets internally in your business to create excitement and around even updates and what's happening. And then employee onboarding. So same as client onboarding, but think about how you could structure that differently through a private feed is pretty unique and cool. And the other way is through relationship building. And this can be internally or externally, but same thing, kind of like ramblings and rants. I know someone online that does that with her staff. Like she just does like a 10-minute ramble around. I listen to one that's a public feed. She has a traditional one at the beginning of the week that's more educational based. And then she has a 10-minute like, you know, ramble or rants with her drive with her husband. And they are like so entertaining and so fun because we really get to see the inside world of who they are. And even with one of my clients that I'm working with right now, she's trying to add that into her private feed. And it's breathing new life and excitement into her business again because she gets to just kind of relax when she's talking. And there is a noticeable shift and a noticeable difference between her, you know, guest podcasting and her private ramble and rants that she does once a month. And she just does them once a month. They can be framed however you want them to be framed, but it's just a private community that joins into your world and that gets access to you personally. And I think we're craving that more and more and more is that human connection and getting to know who we actually are as a human. And so that relationship building piece is really, really important. So I really want your listeners to really consider and think how they can add that into their world to create that like know and trust factor. So rambling and rants, there's also behind the scenes. How cool. I know I need to do a better job of this. You do a really good job of this. Really getting and capturing.
Like that's most of my content, to be honest with you.
But I think it's really important to see how we are structuring our day behind, you know, that is something that I'm planning on working on more and more. I'm used to being behind the scenes. So me getting in front of the camera is difficult, but I could do that through audio too. And I just need to shift my way of thinking a little bit differently. I don't need to have a video camera right in my face to be able to let people behind the scenes and let people get to know who I am as a human being and what I do on a daily basis.
Can I caveat that too?
Yes.
Because I think that this is really important to highlight. A lot of people don't like being on video, and that is so fair. It is uncomfortable. It is frustrating when technology doesn't work. It is so many things, okay? That said, you don't necessarily need to have your face in the video when you're creating any type of video content. Like if you look at like a TikTok video or a reel or something like that, like I follow a lot of like self-help and motivational content. That's just kind of what my algorithm sends me. I don't know why. I guess I have no other interests. No, I'm just kidding. But I also do host a podcast called Happiness Happens. So, I mean, I feel like that's a little bit different. But in any case, how do I want to word this? Like if you look at content on TikTok, for example, a lot of the content that does really well is voiceovers. It's voiceovers on still images, on quotes, it's people reading quotes. It's, you know, a couple of words and some music. So I think that really just reinforces and kind of drives home the importance of that audio piece that through audio, you get a sense of connection to somebody else.
Yes.
You get to hear their voice. Like I used to say, I actually haven't said this in a very long time, but I used to say all the time, you know, podcasting is the most intimate relationship that you're ever going to have with your listener and with your people in your audience, because people are actively choosing to pick up their headphones, put you in their ears and take you wherever they are going to go, whether it's walking their dog or a stroll with the kids, picking kids up from school, doing groceries, to and from the gym. It's a very like privileged way to be in someone's space. right? And to
Yes.
impact their life in a significant way that way, regardless of what the content is. And so I think that a lot of creators, and I'm going on a little bit of a soapbox here, but I think a lot of creators forget the intention behind having a podcast or a private feed or private audio. It's not like, yes, everyone wants to make money, everyone wants the
Yeah.
downloads, but like you got to remember the people that you're impacting, the messages
Yes.
that are landing for people. That is the beauty of podcasting. Everything else is an amazing benefit. This is my opinion. Of course, everyone has a different one, right? So
No, I couldn't have said that better. And I think there's so much power. And I keep, I'm trying to keep myself up on trends, what's happening in video and audio in this world, because that's our job. That's what we do.
it's always
And
changing.
I'm sure you've heard this too, that capturing B-roll is really important, because that's
Yes.
how you can add the voiceover and the content and be the behind the scenes look into your world and into your life. And yeah, I think it's really super powerful. So I think if you don't want to be in front of the camera, you need to hire somebody that knows what they're doing with B-roll, or learn how to set up B-roll small takes in your own office, in your own space, in your life, and start getting comfortable with that, start playing with that, and then just really have fun with the voiceovers and what you can do with that. And I need to take my own words of advice and do it for myself. I help clients do it all the time, but I just, kind of put myself on the back burner. But it's so important and powerful. And not only like your audience, but the people that are working in your world, like how your production staff, your creative graphic staff, like, do they know that they matter? And what a great way to show them that they do matter in your world, by giving them a personal, like, behind the scenes, not behind the scenes, but even just like touch base once a week, even if that's all you can do. But you can do that through audio, so that they can take and listen and be like, oh, okay, this is, I have to expect this from Kim every week on Fridays. So I just don't want to miss out, because I want to hear what's happening. And, but you can also highlight what they're doing, the positives, and what's going on and what you're seeing and what we're going to work towards. I mean, generate excitement in your own world, and that will really expand into your outer world as well. So much power, so much power in audio. You're right. We can't forget who we are as humans, and that everybody else is around us, and really take that into consideration when we're working in business and online. So many cool ways that you can use it for relationship building. There's also like fireside chats. How fun is that? Tips and tricks and walks and talks, like so many different ways that you can add audio internally in your business, and then also spilling out to work outwards. So yeah, and that's kind of, I just wanted to kind of give you a snippet of how you can use it relationship building wise. But I work with clients in creating a framework around what that could potentially look like. And so there's 3 main sections of creating a private feed, just like there would be a public podcast, kind of thinking about it similarly. But there's an introduction. So if you're thinking about a mini capsule, this is what it could look like when I'm working with a client. The introduction is really, you're introducing who you are, what the agenda is, what they can expect from the mini podcast, and reminding them of the value that they will be getting when they're listening and taking the time to actually listen and, put you in their earbuds, just like you said. So you're really setting the stage and setting the context for what they can expect. And then you have the action episodes, the content, kind of like, just like you're building out a blog post, you have the intro, the body, and the conclusion. It's the same thing as a private feed. So your content and action episodes are, think about them as kind of capturing what you talked about in your previous episode, and then getting into the new concept or idea. And I really stress this in traditional podcasts as well as a private feed. And I'm sure you can relate to this or add to this. But I always just say to really target one concept or one idea per episode, because we don't want to overwhelm the listener. Really be thinking about how they can use that concept, give them some examples that are related to it, and then get them excited about listening to the next episode. So that's all those are. And, we don't have to overthink them, that we can outline them, do a basic body outline, and then get excited about talking about it when we start hitting record. And then the conclusion, the wrap-up episode, is really just, recapping what you've talked about, what you've taught them, what you've gone over, any next steps and how they can work with you in their world, inviting them into your world, and how they can continue working with you. So that customer journey, thinking about what's next, always what's next. I always say that, building a traditional podcast or a private feed should have more context around it. Right. It should have a strategy around it. And if you strategize things right in your business, then it can really lead to, great things. And it's not just, if it's an aside, I always consider those like hobby podcasts, or you could play and do some private feeds that aren't really linking people anywhere. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you really want it to, energize your business, breathe new life into your offers, get you excited and build your email list and get new leads and new traction, then you want to have a great solid strategy moving forward, as this can be a component of. It's not just a standoff.
That's really, really cool. I think that this is all just so valuable, because I think that there are so many different ways that you can take this type of media and audio and integrate it into your existing strategy and also elevate it in a really significant way. One of the things that you were talking about earlier was those rambling or rants. So if you had, let's say, our podcaster is listening right now to this episode and they're like, okay, but I already put so much time and effort into my podcast. I don't really have like more time to dedicate to it. Would you recommend this as something that's just like fun, and in addition, like you keep your podcast, you keep it exactly the same way it is, and then you're just kind of giving people that inside look behind the scenes?
Yeah, you can just use it in so many different ways, right? So you have to kind of sit back and go, I'm not telling you to pull if you already have a public podcast going on a different platform, to pull it and put it on Hello Audio. I love the platform because it streamlines and makes things easy for both public and private feeds, but there's so many out there. And like I said, I will capture that and make sure that that's readily available to your listeners so they can really ponder what the right decisions are. Because at the end of the day, if it's not streamlined in a way that's easy for us to maintain and follow, we're not going to do it. So, like you have a great offer right now too. Like I really stress the importance of having some kind of system in place, whether it's through Trello or Asana or ClickUp, whatever platform you use, so that you can kind of build it into your, everyday, your weekly events and activities. And so that the flow is easy to, again, maintain and follow, whether you're a team of one or a team of three or many. We're all structured so differently. So I don't want to like add more to your world, but I also want you to be really thoughtful and, just really consider what the opportunities are with bringing in private feeds and how they can really add value to what you already have going on. And if adding the entertainment piece, getting a little look behind the scenes is something you could do on a weekly or just once a month basis, amazing. Try it, play with it, have fun with it. Because if you use a platform like, again, I'm going to say Hello Audio, if you use a platform that's easy to use, then you'll show up and you'll keep doing it. Recording, hitting record, structuring out. Most of the work is structuring out, allotting time to actually hit record.
Yeah.
Outlining what you're talking about, hitting record is, and then do you have a production team? And maybe if you're doing it, like I'm going to use the example of the rambling and rant, if the whole purpose behind it is for people to get a real inside look at who you are, you're not going to have a whole lot of editing to do then. Because you don't want it polished and perfect. You want it to be genuinely who you are and how you sound. So if you say a lot of ums and ahs, that's part of who you are. That's okay. Like I was just talking to a good friend in the copywriting world, and she's like, you know what? I add ums all the time in my copy because that's how I speak. So if I eliminate them from my copy, that doesn't make me who I am. And I was like, I never really thought about that because I'm always constantly over analyzing all of my copy. I would rather any day of the week get on the mic, hit record, and have a conversation because that is so much more natural to me.
Yeah.
So think
that's
about
actually
that.
how I write copy. That's how I write my copy.
I
voice note it to my like notes app on my phone.
Perfect.
And then I convert it into like something that people can actually read, because the way that you talk and the way people read is very different.
Right.
But I even did this for my sister's wedding when she got married in the summer.
So cool.
I voice noted myself the entire speech. Like I wrote, like it was like talk to text or whatever, right? So I didn't have to go back and like listen to it again and like transcribe it. I was just talking into the microphone. It was already transcribing it. And I kind of put myself in that place. Like, how did I want to feel delivering this message? And how did I want her and her husband to feel when they were receiving it? What was the emotion that I wanted to create in the room from the words? You know what I mean? And I really just like got myself into that headspace and just talked from there. And
oh my gosh,
it was so easy. Like, but if
Yeah.
I sat down there and tried to find the perfect words and sit down and write, it doesn't always come naturally to me. Like it's just
Yeah.
not like I like to talk. Might
Yeah.
as well use the gift.
That's exactly right. But there's so many cool tips and tricks on how we can like use audio to also help in other areas of our business. And you just said it like perfectly so well there too. Also really be thoughtful and consider that whatever platform you're using to do your production piece in, adding the transcript piece so that it is more accessible. So not only is audio more accessible, but having transcripts for our potential clients, our listeners, our viewers, is just also making that accessibility piece more impactful.
Absolutely. And also being careful of where you place that transcription, because I had content that I posted on TikTok, and I posted the transcription too low, that it was like over the bottom part, like where all the copy goes. And someone commented and they were like, "Oh my gosh, this sounds so cool, but like I can't read it, and so I don't know what you're saying." And I was like, but you know what? I learned so fast. I was like, okay, we put it up in the middle to the left. You know what I mean? Even if it's over my face, I would rather someone be able to see and read if you can't listen.
Yes.
And I mean, there's a lot of people on there on social media who don't listen at all. You know what I mean? Like I have my sound is off all the time on my phone. So when I open my app, if I'm going through stories, there's no sound to my story. So if there's no text on if there's no transcription, I'm probably not going to listen to it. Right. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But
So the power and the importance of who are we talking to, right? And where are they? Because that will make sense into how we are developing and structuring any piece of our audio marketing strategy. So
absolutely. And what I love about where we're at in this conversation right now is how beautifully it rounds out everything we've spoken about over the last 4 episodes. And what's really important here with the audio piece is audio, video, and text work cohesively together.
Yes.
If you're not using all 3 of them together, or if you're not thinking about how you can use all 3 of them together, where are the opportunities for you to be able to do so? I think that is so important. Audio will always support video. Text will always support video. Video will always support text, and video will help bring emotion to the audio. So you really have this beautiful trifecta. And this has been such a powerful series. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. And if your listeners are interested in listening to one, a shameless plug, but check out my Instagram at @ManJamesCo, because I do have a private podcast up there, how to set up your podcast for success. And it's a great, easy, short 5 mini capsule podcast that I'm using as a lead magnet. So it's a prime example of how you can see how it's structured and how it kind of sounds. It's not perfect. But it's out there. It's something that I've been playing with. And that's what I wholeheartedly encourage you to do. Don't wait for perfection. Just start somewhere. Try it, have fun with it. And if you do listen, send me a message. I would love to hear what you thought of it and how you could potentially use it in your business, because that's what gets me excited is how people are implementing all of these great things that we're talking about, because that's why we do what we do. We want more voices heard.
Perfect. Absolutely agree with you. Thank you so much, Kim, for joining me for this series.
It's been so fun. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for listening in to this episode with Kim. If you like what you heard, please be sure to leave a rating and review of the show and connect with us on social media so that you can share what you learned and a big takeaway maybe from this conversation. Kim is such a wealth of knowledge when it comes to the audio space, and I know that you learned so much from her, because I learned so much from her every single time we sit down and chat. If you'd like to connect with her, with myself, or grab any of the resources that we mentioned in this episode, or any of the resources that we both offer, you can check the notes in the show description. Thanks again for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe, share with a friend that you know needs to hear this episode, and I will see you on the next one.